It may not feel like it, but your Chiefs are the best in this league, and they are 7-0 after grinding out a win against the Las Vegas Raiders. The ups, the downs, all of it live now on Locked On Chiefs with Matt Derrick. Join us right now.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. We're brought to you tonight by Gametime. This is our live post-game episode, and it is sponsored by them. Download the Gametime app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. You can get all of our content here right now, live post-game, as the Chiefs get another W, but you want more, and you can get it at Chiefs Digest for Matt. You can get it at KC Chiefs Corner for Chris. You can get mine at NFL 33 and RGR Football. I'm going to switch us right here because I forgot to do this before. Matt is our in-house guest. We appreciate you guys being here for that. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell. Check out all the Locked On podcast shows because we have a ton and we're free every single day. We appreciate you being here. You everydayers, you know us. Get over on the podcast side as well. And if you want that much more, hit it 816-357-8781. Matt, I'm going to open it with you. This was a win. This is not the win that I was expecting. The score came close to my prediction, although I think Chris was closer, at least until the very end. I didn't expect them to do what I felt they did and underestimate the Raiders for a second straight time in this game, yet that's how it felt, especially in the first half. How did you see this game?
I mean, I didn't ever really feel like that the Chiefs, didn't respect the Raiders and underestimated them in any way because, you look at the numbers, the Raiders were not able to run the football in any way whatsoever. Gardner Minshew throws for 209 yards. I mean, it was a pedestrian effort, even if he had a high completion percentage. They just had a couple of good drives to begin with. They got some points at the end when they were desperate. I never felt like the Raiders were really in this game. And, and the offense was very sharp. I thought in the first half, they had some hiccups here and there. The defense made the big plays when they needed to. So I never really felt like they were in danger for the most part, So I felt like they really respected them. But what I certainly got out of this was just that, especially with the game planning and the calling and just some of the execution for the Raiders, it was quite evident. This was their Super Bowl. This was the game that they circled. So, to me, it's going to be, what do the Raiders learn from this? Is this going to be, hey, world champs 7-0, we almost caught them, but and so then maybe this 2-5 is just a step mark, stepping point to them becoming a 500 team, or do they look at this and say, oh, you know what? We weren't on the same field with this team. We really didn't have a chance, even if it was close at the end. And this is just the Raiders on their way to 4-13. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out what happens next, but I think this was the best Raiders shot that you're going to get if you're the Chiefs, and it wasn't enough for him today.
Well, the big thing that sticks out to me, 209 yards for Gardner Minshew, but 65 of that came on the final drive, which the Chiefs were playing prevent. And at that point, you're just basically just trying to make it to where they're not going to go right down the field and score a touchdown. They ended up getting a touchdown, but it took them long enough to where they weren't going to get a second chance. So I think that was big. You look at the way that the defense played, they were able to grind the game out, and 4 sacks on the day. I thought that was something that was very impressive. And really the reality is, Kansas City's offense tried to give them multiple opportunities. The Raiders defense, or the Raiders offense, multiple opportunities on a short field, and it didn't happen. So I think you got to be pretty happy with the way the defense played today.
Yeah, and the one thing, Ryan, I will echo that it did feel at least a little bit by Christmas Day, where the Raiders had 2 short fields. They got points out of one of them, they didn't out of another. I mean, one was the turnover, one was the punt return, and the reason why. It was with the penalty, exactly. And the reason why that, the Chiefs kind of got out of this was their defense, came up big in both situations. After the turnover, they just kept them out. And I almost said something on social media after, the Chiefs got the stop on 3rd down. It was like, well, Chiefs defense comes up again. And I was like, nope, I'm going to have to wait, because how many times have I seen this defense, as good as it is, in the last 2 or 3 years, get a stop on 3rd and goal and then give it up on 4th and goal? So them finally getting a stop on 4th and goal was a big deal to me. But so it wasn't like, hey, the pick six and the turnover for the fumble against the Raiders on Christmas Day. This was different. But, the Raiders had 125 yards on their first 2 drives, and they got 10 points on those drives. They had 103 yards the rest of the game. and got 10 more points. I mean, that shouldn't happen, but at least the Chiefs defense was there to keep it from getting worse.
They were. And I will tell you this, maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on the first quarter, but I want to say 5 minutes into the second quarter, the Raiders still had the advantage in third down percentage. It looked like it was just still trying to wake up. And if it wasn't for that defense and what that unit did that we will talk about coming up here in a little bit before we get to the offensive side, I think that was the catalyst. It forced a couple of things. In the end, I think it's been a very crazy week. And I wanted to get your impression on the presence of DeAndre Hopkins in the offense and just what having a player of that caliber walk into the locker room could have helped them with. And did you see it on the field like you expected it?
Yeah, I mean, well, easily on the first down conversion on the very opening drive. I mean, that was obviously, I mean, you know, the Chiefs hadn't been getting plays like that. They hadn't been able to get guys open like that. And two, you know, we talked about what could be the auxiliary effect of at least just having a guy like DeAndre Hopkins on the field. I haven't seen the snap counts as much. I mean, I don't think it was a ton of snaps, but he was on the field at least enough. But was Travis Kelce getting that open because he's Travis Kelce and the Raiders just always seem to forget that Travis Kelce's a Hall of Famer? Or was this, you know, a residual of life's going to be easier for Travis Kelce with DeAndre Hopkins on the field? When if defenses are going to have their eyes on Hopkins from time to time, you're not going to be able to have as many eyes on Travis Kelce. So was this, you know, a coincidence? Is it just the Raiders and Travis just eats up the Raiders? Or was this a benefit of, you know, what effect Hopkins can have when a defense has to, you know, take account of him? I mean, only had the 2 catches on 3 targets today, so it wasn't like a huge output, but I'm not 100% certain that we didn't start to see a little bit of the effect that just having DeAndre Hopkins on the field can have on a defense.
Well, the one thing that I will throw out there really quick, 3 targets, you're right. Second target, Mahomes missed him. DeAndre Hopkins was wide open, and he just missed the throw, although it could have been maybe running the wrong route. But the third throw to Hopkins got them in field goal range, got it to where it was right before halftime, set them up for Butker to get a field goal. That is the type of play that they absolutely have missed from wide receivers. And that is a huge scenario that they needed going into this, you know, just going forward in the season.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, that's the play that this team's consistently missed. Absolutely. I mean, and, you know, could somebody else have made that play? Well, Juju Smith-Schuster could have made the play, but he wasn't on the field. Travis can make that play. You know, maybe he would have against the Raiders of all people, but, you know, he hasn't been able to make that play this season because I think he's just had, you know, too much attention. But has there been anybody else that can make that big of a play in that situation? We just haven't seen it from this team. And I felt like absolutely, you know, DeAndre Hopkins was not only maybe was critical to him getting those 7 points on the first drive, absolutely helped them steal those 3 points before halftime.
And that's the way the game flows. And that's how you get to this point where you can remain undefeated despite what was Patrick Mahomes' first touchdown throw to Travis Kelce of the season. We're going to talk about the offense a little bit later, and we're going to come right back after this and look at this defense that I feel saved the day again. We'll see if Matt agrees. When you're hiring for a small business, you want to find the quality professionals with the right fit for the right role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. It has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team. I'm always looking at LinkedIn. It isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you find professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively looking or searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get qualified candidates within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. It goes down the easiest way to post your job for free is on LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out, even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Gametime app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that 50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at PrizePicks. Now, make sure you check out and subscribe over at KC Chiefs Corner for all Chris's work at ChiefsDigest.com and Chiefs Digest here on YouTube for Matt, as well as NFL33.com and RGRFootball.com for our work. My favorite thing is this season, we get to talk about the running game on offense and how great the defense is, and I don't have to act like I'm the crazy guy in the room anymore. So the things that stand out the most to me today, they held a professional running back with a serviceable offensive line. We're not talking about all rookies or anything like that, to 1.1 yards per carry for Madison today. And I felt it was a team effort. I thought Turk Wharton played great. I thought the linebackers were crashing well. Obviously, Tranquil at the end of the game with those submarine-type blitzes. Matt, is this the best we've seen the defensive front seven play since Andy's been here?
You know what? That's a pretty good point. And, when we brought up the fourth down, and then the situation, and the Chiefs, the defense with their backs up against the wall in a 4-down situation, short yardage, and they just simply did not let the Raiders get in. They were stuffed them 3 times on the run. And that's once again, just stops that we haven't seen this Chiefs defense been able to get. The fact that, they still, most yards they've given up to an opposing running back all season is 58 yards. That's impressive. This is an incredible streak that they've got going. And once again, they're doing it with group football because, you look at it, and I could nitpick with almost everybody in the defensive side and say, well, so-and-so missed this play or didn't look good in this coverage or, made a mistake here. It wasn't perfect football, but the really good thing about this defense is that they are all playing as a unit. They're playing as all 11 guys. And that's what Steve Spagnuolo preaches. Yes, it's know your role, and do your job, but it's also plus. It's not trying to be a hero, but it's gang tackling. It's pursuing to the football. And how many times did you see it today? especially late, and the fourth down stop's a great example. It's not one guy piling on a guy making a tackle. It's 3, 4, 5 guys, crowding around. So, that's what this team does. They play team football, and that's what I think has been at least the most impressive. So, yeah, even last year, not discounting, where the Chiefs ended up, I think this defense is right now on a path to be better than last year's squad.
5 for 5 for 58 yards for Brock Bowers. That to me says everything. You look at the first quarter. And they talked about this at the very end of the game. I think he had 3 catches in the first quarter and didn't come back and get another catch until late in the fourth. He is going to be the face of the NFL when it comes to tight end in a couple of years. He is that good. He is a fantastic player, and they kept him to 58 yards. That is what you need from this defense. They don't have to be able to shut down everybody all the time, but that is shutting down Bowers, and that is their biggest weapon, and they took him away for most of the game. Yes, he got started a little early, but then it didn't come back until they went into a prevent. That is fantastic defense against him.
Yeah, and I thought even early on, I thought that the Chiefs defense was, clearly it was focused on just do not let Brock Bowers beat you, because Raiders don't have anybody else. So that was the one guy. He had 3 catches for 39 yards in the first half. And, it seemed impressive because one, all those were good routes, good catches, contested catches, whatever they may be. And then he just absolutely plows into somebody. Gave poor Najee Johnson a concussion. Looked like he may have knocked, Brian Cook to the sideline too. That was a jarring hit. And I thought when Bowers made that play, I was like, Brian Cook probably keeps that to short of the first down line with 9 out of 10 tight ends in this league. Yep. Brock Bowers is just a special one that takes the hit, plows forward for 2 more yards and get the Raiders a first down. So, yeah, the fact, I think you make a great point, Chris, which, hey, he made a bigger impact in the first half. Raiders were more successful in the first half when Bowers was making some key catches, but Chiefs, buckled down and made sure that, really until the last drive that he wasn't that much of an impactful force in the second half.
It's just, I don't understand their defense. I don't understand their offensive philosophy. Sorry, Ryan. But looking at what they did, especially when they get the ball in the red zone and they don't go to Brock Bowers, like they completely went away from him. They ran the ball when they got the ball in the red zone multiple times. They ran it at Kansas City, and Kansas City hadn't been allowing anything against the run, and yet they continued to try that. They didn't go back to the tight end, who I thought could have had a pretty big game for him if they go back to him in the red zone.
I was perplexed, honestly, with their strategy, late in the game of deciding that they were going to burn all their timeouts before the 2-minute warning as an all-out just to get that first touchdown. I guess I get it, but then you're absolutely pinning all your hopes on an onside kick at a time when onside kicks don't work anymore. I mean, they're harder than ever to get them. And I get they almost got it, but almost is a long way from getting it. And, had they had their timeouts left, they could have tried to at least get the ball back from the Chiefs. But they moved methodically down the field on that last drive before the 2-minute warning and burned up all their timeouts. I mean, it gave the only thing that they had was the slim shot of recovering an onside kick. That to me was, kind of an indication that you don't think that your defense can stop the Chiefs in a 10-yard situation to get the ball back either.
It makes perfect sense. Now, I'm interested to see what the blitz percentage is when we see the snaps, because Spags was certainly sending plenty of people like he usually does. But I think the evolution of it actually makes me feel better about what they were able to produce. 5 sacks on the day, and they came from non-DBs. It was Trank, Chenal, Karlaftis, Wharton, and Pennell. Okay. So, yes, you're sending them. And CRW, I think, had an up-and-down game. I think he probably could have gotten there on one of them if he had just continued to blitz. But to be able to do that and get the front 7 going, I think this is the next evolution so that you don't have to be as crazy. I'm not sure I'm comfortable seeing Tranquil as the deep safety, but other than that, I think this might have been Spag's best call of the season.
I saw that and I could not believe it. I was like, did he just send him back in the – yeah.
Hey, Trank can do it. I mean, these guys, they got a lot of guys that are pretty flexible, can do a lot of different things. So, yeah. And, and my colleague, Nick Jacobs, cited, in the first half that on those first couple of drives that the Raiders were really doing a good job and the receivers were doing a good job in being able to call out who the blitzers were and where the pressure was coming from. And, at the time, it felt like, okay, if that's the case, then Spagnuolo's definitely going to be able to mix that up later on and kind of use that against the Raiders. And, and he's so good at disguising the blitzes that, yeah, then you can get into a situation where you can kind of show the Raiders where they think the pressure's coming from and then just surprise them. And obviously they did a great job of that in the second half. That pressure that McDuffie had, I mean, that's not a sack, but it might have been the best pressure that they had the entire game because he just came completely untouched through the line. And they had a couple of those situations. And I thought it was also interesting in that we're seeing the next evolution of kind of Leo Chenal, because we've talked about it a long time before about how he can be more of an on-ball linebacker on the line, playing more downhill. And, and in the last couple of seasons, we've seen him take up more of a pass rushing role. Well, today he just had flat out an edge role. I mean, there were times when they had him out there in run situations, and he's proving that he's a pretty good edge player against the run too. So I thought it was a really good game for Chenal overall. And once again, I think that this game showed kind of an evolution for him because he's showing that he can be more than just a limited linebacker. I mean, I don't think he's, the Chiefs envision him one day as being maybe a Mike linebacker if they needed it. Maybe he still could, but I think he's just becoming an all-around, outside linebacker that you can just use in almost any position. I mean, coverage is still not his best, but we've even seen that. He's improved a lot in that this year.
Coverage, he went up against Brock Bowers today. I saw that and I just was like, are you kidding me? Of all the places to put him, like, I loved Leo, so it's not against him. It's just I wasn't expecting to see that on my bingo card going into this game. That's not something I expected, but he's been fantastic. It's great to see.
Yeah, you should play the Powerball tonight or something because that happened. So it's up and down. It's up and down on offense as well. Some big pluses and a couple of minuses we need to get to as we break it down for the Raiders coming up next. The atmosphere at Arrowhead is unique. There's nothing like it. Nowhere more in the world that you want to watch a ball game than right there from those seats. Finding those seats is always interesting. It makes it super easy to use Game Time. It's all in pricing, so you never get hit with anything strange. You don't get surprised at checkout. You get to see the view from every seat in the stadium, so you know exactly what that ball game is going to look like when you're sitting there. And they offer the lowest price guarantee. You find it cheaper somewhere else, they'll give you 110% of the difference right there on the spot. All you got to do is get the Game Time app. So go download it, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $20 off of your first purchase. Again, all you got to do is create an account and use the code. It's LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $20 off. Go down that Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. Make sure that you guys are signed up and ready for everything, including our text line at 816-357-8781. Check out Chiefs Digest, as well as NFL 33, KC Chiefs Corner, and RGR Football. The offense is the offense is the offense, and we live and die by Patrick Mahomes and his maybe the most examined ankle of the day. Let's hope that we get a report on that. A late injury to Jody Fortson. It looked, despite what the broadcast said to me, Matt, that looked like non-contact. That is another big injury in my opinion from what I saw. Let's hope that it's not, but we'll find that out. Those are the two big ones on the day that I thought was really defined by two things. One, that you had Travis Kelce, and one that you didn't have a left tackle. What was the bigger issue today, Matt?
Well, I mean, the Chiefs won the game because they have Travis Kelce. They could have lost the game because left tackle spot really struggled. And Wanya obviously had a tough second half and a really tough sequence there in the goal line situation. And I mean, that can happen when you get your offense in a perilous position and the defense just says, okay, we're going to put Max Crosby on you and our best talent and just go after you at your weakest spot. So that was almost disastrous. Defense bailed them out, obviously, but the Chiefs had 3 straight drives that they started at their own 8-yard line, and the first 2 just absolutely went nowhere. The middle one, the second one, was the one that was just about disastrous, and you had the 2 holding penalties, both of which almost could have been safeties, and then you have the interception on the third one. It was just an absolute debacle, and and the offense, as good as it looked at times, there are reasons to continue to be concerned. I mean, you got to love what Kareem Hunt has given to this team from just a toughness standpoint, from a short yardage standpoint, but 2.8 yards a carry, not great. So is that just teams selling out against the run, saying, hey, do not let Kareem Hunt beat you, stop him at all cost? If that's the case, then you'd like to think that your receivers could open things up, but once again, because of the injuries, you're not really seeing that. At least you saw today Travis have a really good day. That was important for this team. So yeah, once again, there's some. You're 7-0, so there's things to like about the offense. But again, you can absolutely point to some deficiencies that when this streak gets broken, you're going to say, okay, well, we probably saw this coming.
It's kind of crazy. You watch this game, and Mahomes, I thought, played probably one of his best games this season. I know that he had the interception, tip ball, tough deal. He still doesn't have a clean game yet, but he has 2 passing touchdowns, almost 250 yards, or a little over 250 yards passing. Got Kelce involved, got DeAndre Hopkins involved. But you saw other players step up at different times. Worthy had a couple of rough snaps. Ball got into his hands, wasn't able to bring it down, but then they go back to him late and he gets the touchdown. That's the kind of play that you need to continue to see from him. If he's struggling, give the ball back to him and have him try to, see if he can work his way out of it, because he did today. And then what can you say? But Noah Gray is just everywhere. I really don't know what you can really say about the guy. I mean, there was obviously he got the onside kick, but let's not forget Worthy had one bounce off his hands and Noah Gray caught that too. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say about Noah Gray other than he is just everywhere. He is playing fantastic for this team, and he's doing the little things, and he's not appreciated enough on this roster.
Well, it was supposed to be a contract year for Noah Gray, and it's no longer a contract year because he got his contract. But at least he's earning the money now. So, it has been. I mean, this has been a stretch of, he had 3 catches today, which, entering this season was his career high. He's now had quite a few of those, even had a 4-catch game. So he set career highs across the board and everything. So I think you got to give a lot of credit to Noah for how well he has played. But there were some things still about the offense that I thought, particularly in the fourth quarter, because there's no doubt. I mean, I think Mahomes could have ended up with a 300-yard day had the Chiefs just decided to be more aggressive. I mean, those last couple of drives, they were breaking out the split T, formations. and that also fuels them a little bit of like, okay, you're not really fooling the defenses with what you're going to do when you're putting 2 tight ends in the backfield with Kareem. But then I also was encouraged about, that there was some creativity off of that. I mean, they lined up Travis at one point in the backfield and then put him in motion and throw it to him. Throwing the pass, the touchdown to Worthy, I thought was a really good design as well. So, they did throw the couple of balls a couple of times when they needed to in the second half just to move the chains, and they got it done, which is good. But there was a little bit of this, Andy Reid not wanting to show up a coach that he likes and who's struggling. And I felt like there was a little bit of that today, because I think that the Chiefs, if they'd really, really wanted to, could have put 40 on the Raiders, even with some of the offensive lapses that they had, and even with some of the struggles that the line had and not having a lot of weapons. But there was no doubt, I thought, that especially in the second half, they took the foot off the accelerator a little bit.
Which is a problem that they continue to have. Sorry.
And we're never going to get away from that. That's who Andy is. And I as much as I want to tell myself that that's going to change, I agree with you, man. I just don't think that it will. But one thing that I did take away from the day as a whole, yes, it was another fluky interception from Patrick Mahomes, but he also targeted 10 players, completed to 9 of them. And I think that's the big thing that harkens back to when it was Tyreek and a bunch of dudes, right? Like now there's a lot more options, and whoever can step up and do something, whether it's Gray making those crazy catches, whether it's now working Hopkins into it. I thought Perine had some clutch plays today as well. There was everybody doing a little bit of the puzzle to move it all along. And when you do get Hollywood back later in the playoffs, or whenever the next piece takes that step forward, I believe personally that Xavier Worthy is better now than Rashee Rice was at this point last season. Because while he is making mistakes, I don't think he's making unforced mistakes like Rashee was. So I see the ceiling as just as good. And when that all comes together as we hit the end of the season, December is going to feel good, I think, at this point. And we'll see if they remain undefeated. But if you had to pick a ray of sunshine of any of that or anything else that I missed, maybe it's Justin Watson. I forgot to say his name. Matt, what is the one thing that you want to double down on what they did today?
To me, it's Travis Kelce. Once again, the offense runs through the tight end for Andy Reid. It always has, and it always will. And it's case in point. You feel a little better about this team today. And why? Well, it's because your tight ends gave you over 100 yards. Gray and Kelce together had 113. That's encouraging. So, and the fact that you get Kelce into the end zone, if you can get him off this streak that he's been on, where he just hasn't been putting up Kelce-like numbers, if Travis Kelce gives you 90 yards week in and week out, you're going to continue to win a bunch of football games, and you're going to score a lot of points. So that to me is the biggest one. If you can keep Travis, keep getting him involved. And once again, that's going to play into the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. And when you get to playoff time, maybe getting a Hollywood Brown back. If you've got multiple weapons that you put on the field, that with Patrick Mahomes, you're a dangerous offense. Today they might have had 1.25 op, on the field, depending on what strength and how deployed you'd say DeAndre Hopkins was. Hey, it's the Raiders, and we know Travis Kelce has just always eaten up the Raiders because for whatever reason the Raiders just seem to forget that he's a Hall of Famer. But that to me is that's what's going to keep this streak going to be an 8-0 team next week, is that you keep Travis Kelce getting involved.
I'm really curious to see how many snaps DeAndre Hopkins got, because to me, he comes in and his 3 targets show what he can be in this offense and show what they've been missing at the receiver position. And they've had it at times with Juju and when Rice was around, but you haven't had consistency for multiple games. And getting him involved as much as you did in his first game when he's only been in the offense for basically 2 days, I can't wait to see what he's going to do against the Bucs in a week, because he has an extra day to prepare for that game. And he's got the flight home. I guarantee you he's going to be a lot better next week.
I think you're absolutely right. That brings us to the culmination of this show, Matt. Who gets your game ball had the best day out today?
I guess I just gave it away. I got to go with Travis Kelce. Best game of the season for him. 10 catches, 12 targets, touchdown, 90 yards. As goes Travis Kelce, typically goes the Chiefs offense. Today was a very good example of that. Certainly, Mahomes had a good day too. Why? Because Travis had a good day. That goes hand in hand. I think this offense needed that. And if this is a sign of things to come, if this is a sign that the addition of DeAndre Hopkins is going to help make things life a little bit easier for Travis Kelce, if a 7-0 team can continue to get better, that could very well be happening.
Ryan, who you
got? For me, it's the guy that I would give the MVP of the season to at this point. An honorable mention to Joe Cullen, but it is Steve Spagnuolo. It's not just that you got players to raise their level. I thought you saw a better performance from FAU today. Herring made some plays on top of all the stars and all the guys we've already talked about. You're getting better play. Do they have an issue or two to work through at corner? Probably at this point. But Steve Spagnuolo was able to adapt. He was able to put his guys in position to make plays. That defensive stand on the goal line, I give a lot of credit to Joe Cullen for motivating guys that needed to perform right then and there. And so I'll make it a 1A, 1B situation, but my hat's off to the defensive side.
Shocker that you go defense, but the reality is they really deserve it. And the problem with me looking at the defensive side is there's so many different guys that made plays. It wasn't like they had huge games, but they made plays on a regular basis. Karlaftis had a big sack. There were several different plays that Pennell had as well. So to me, though, I think I look at this game and I look at what Patrick Mahomes has gone through this season. This was his best game that he's had this season. I'm going to give a game ball to Patrick Mahomes. He threw another pick, and it sucks that he threw another pick, but 2 passing touchdowns, 262 yards, and he got 2 first downs, I believe, at least 2 first downs with his legs too. He was helping them move the ball, doing what they needed to do. And I agree, Matt. I think that if Andy Reid wanted to, they could have easily put up, I'd say at least 35. 40 wouldn't have surprised me, but he definitely took his foot off the gas and let it kind of eke out at the end.
Well, that's it for us. What do you think? Who gets your game poll? Put it down in the comments on YouTube. Check it out on ChiefsDigest.com and Chiefs Digest here on the YouTube platform. Go to KC Chiefs Corner, RGR Football, NFL 33. Be back with us tomorrow. We'll have Matt back on Wednesday, like we always do. We are rolling. We'll see what comes next. Injury-wise updates, everything for you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow.